along your journey, from founder to CEO to entrepreneur, like what are the life lessons or big life lesson that you've learned that looking back now, like if you could tell a younger Charlie 5, 10 years ago, what are the things that you've learned in this process that you're like, man, people need to know this?
You know, what comes to mind when you ask that is a phrase, be your own best customer. And I
Hmm.
think that there's a business lens for this and also a personal lens for this. So I'll start with the business lens and then I'll move to the personal. I think that how do you make something compelling? You find it, you want it to have differentiation in the market. And so
Yep.
one of the ways I think you can best differentiate something is when you know it at an incredibly intimate level and you know it better than anybody else. And you can go to bat for it and you can dig in and you can listen, but also direct somebody if they're disagreeing. And I think that relationship with something can provide so much strength. And so if you're lucky enough to be your own best customer of something you create, I think you're going to have tons of success navigating that. You also could be your own best customer selling solar, selling, involved in other kinds of business and thinking about, well, what would the customer that I'm speaking to want to see? And how do I sort of put my shoes in that place? So you think you can become your own best customer if you think enough about it and really, you know, take a look at the fundamentals of why you're having certain kinds of conversations, but also at a personal level. Like, how do you want to show up as a dad? How do you want to show up when you walk into a room? What do you want people to think? How do you want to be perceived? How does your personal brand come off? And what are the kinds of things you need to do to reflect that change or that experience in others in the way that they take a look at you? And I think, taking a look and doing an assessment, a thoughtful assessment, you need to be good to yourself in these conversations, but think, how can I show up better? How do I show up a little bit more with a little bit more tact or a little less this and a little bit more that? And I think it's good to be assessing yourself both through a business lens in that way and in a personal lens that way. Coming back to my first statement, this is the athlete coming out of me. I think I can always be doing a little bit better. And I don't mean that I think you can pick and choose the right words and how to say that, but I think you can always improve. And so, yeah, for me, it's being your own best customer at both a business level and a personal level, and finding the right ways to talk to yourself in
Yep.
both of those scenarios. And how do you really drive change? And I think that's an area that I have found to be impactful spending time with.
Well, it sounds like you're a very self-reflective person, which is pretty similar to how I am. I don't typically need people to point something out in my life and say, like, Steve, you should really paying attention to that. I'm just self-aware that when a conversation didn't go right, when I didn't parent correctly, when I dropped the ball with my wife, you get two choices. You can either just act like it wasn't your fault and brush everything off and be angry at the world and always expect the other people around you to change, colleagues, spouses, kids, or be honest. Like you're not going to be able to change your life today to tomorrow. But I'm sure if you reflect a little bit, whether it's meditation, whether it's journaling, which I'm a huge proponent for journaling, reflecting on your thoughts, I spend time after the gym every morning for about a half hour, cup of coffee. I mean, that's when I have time and I pray and I just think about things. It's crazy how like I'll think about my own life and like, man, what are the areas that I just want to improve in? And when you'll create the space to be able to do that and then really jot down whatever comes to mind, I would challenge all of you as a listener to this episode today, whether you're aware of Shred or not, take self inventory. Think about the areas of your life, the roles that you play right now, the hats that you wear, whether you're married, whether you're a parent, whether you're running a company, whether you're working under somebody, you could be an intern. It doesn't matter. Think about all those roles and write those roles down on a piece of paper and just begin to be honest and assess like how are you doing in each one of those areas, and then like what would you change, what one thing would you change about that could help you, and not going so extreme that like I want to lose all this weight or I want to do this, but like what's one thing that you would introduce in this area of your life. And I think that's why I'm on this journey of presenting through podcasting ways that we could be our most authentic self, to be fully present, to not always have all the answers, but at least have enough resources that can point us in the right direction and maybe have blueprints for how to be the best parents, how to be the best spouse, because we're all wired differently. Our DNA is all differently. Our brains all think differently. We all have different love languages and ways that we respond to things. So it's like, man, how can people, when they listen to this show, take one thing, which in this case, it's very specific through the Shred app, but how can they take one thing away from Charlie's story that can help them?
I pride ourselves that we own 47 minutes on average of people's day. We take that to heart. Our team is extremely passionate about that 47 minutes that we get to hold. And just reach out if you have any questions, reach out to Steve, reach out to me. But there is a very passionate group of people that sits behind this product and brings it to life every day. So I think sometimes you can get a little lost in the tech minutia of the world. And there is a really proud group of people that wakes up every day thinking about how to deliver the most impactful experience to you through fitness. So no, Steve, thank you for this.